Lightning weekly podcast.
Talking all things mediumship, spirit and paranormal.
Awaken with Thunder and Lightning. Reignite
the light
in your soul. Good evening. Hello, Roger. How are you?
Tip-top and tickety-boo. How about yourself?
Oh, you always fit that in somewhere. I'm perfect, thank you. Have you had a good week?
Yes, yeah, it's not been too bad at all. About yourself?
Good, good. Yeah, it's always a good week. Always a good week. So this week, I know I get asked all the time, Roger, what's it like living as a medium? So I have a feeling that might interest people.
That's interesting. Yeah, I had some interesting experiences earlier on when I was early stages of learning, just being innocent about it.
Hadn't thought of it that way. I know when I was developing, yes, there's not that many people you can ask the questions to. One of the biggest things that I got when I started to develop was spirit coming close to me. I guess not having rules necessarily in place where they could communicate to me when I didn't necessarily want them to. It's not like I see them all of the time. That's, well, if I can start there very quickly. One of the first things, say I'm a medium, and I get, who's with me? Well, I don't know, I'm not tuned in just at the minute. Everyone's got the perception that everywhere I walk, I see dead people. Which is not that case at all. Even the seeing, yes, you can see, but that's more rare. I can see in my mind's eye, and yeah, with readings I do often, so daily that'd happen, but not walking around. Not walking around. But yeah, spirit coming close. Go and knock on door 79. Can you tell them that I love them and that I'm all around them? It's like, no, sorry, I can't. But if you go to door 79, tell them to make contact with me, I can pass the message on. But believe it or not, that's started to happen. Regularly, I would say no to spirit, and the next minute I was being contacted by their loved ones. It's funny how it works. But what about you? What experience have you had today then?
Today? Or just in general?
In general.
I was going to just briefly talk about things when I was developing, very early stages. I could be sat in a room with 30, 40 people and I could see their auras. So
that doesn't go away.
And if you imagine 30 or 40 of this energy level in a room, yeah, it bounces. And
that doesn't go away, the seeing the energies, but you can do something about protecting the empathy. I
was talking to quite innocently about it to one of my colleagues, but I says, yeah, we got talking about things, and I said, well, yeah, I see auras. Didn't think much more about it, and it was such a hoot, and I thought, all right, okay, because of the ridicule, and it kind of spread around very quickly, and I thought, well, I'm not bothered because I know what I can see. But if it's affecting other people that way, I think the best thing for me to do is keep that to myself for the time being.
So funny enough, yeah, being ridiculed, I hear from a lot of other mediums, they get that all of the time. How I don't rush around telling everyone what I do. If I get asked, then I tell them. But there's two reactions. Normally, who's with me, which I covered earlier. It's like, well, I don't know, give me a second, I can tune in if they really want to know. So that happened recently at the local shop. Because if I go to the local shop, because of what I do on Facebook all the time, it's like I often get pointed out and they have conversations about me. Oh, it can happen wherever I seem to go in Northampton. But they then said, oh, well, who's with me? I said, well, I don't see it like that. I don't see it all the time. Give me a second, though. For a sec, you've got a grandfather with you. He smokes a pipe. He's telling you he loves you. And he showed me, I can't remember what I said. It was like tulips. He went, yeah, he prides his tulips and he always had a pipe in his mouth. Fantastic. Yeah, I loved him. I just said, well, he's telling me you were his favourite. So brilliant. So then she said to this other lad, he was like, well, what's going on there? She said, oh, he's a medium. What's a medium? She said, well, speak to people that passed over. So you speak to the dead. Okay, if you want to word it that way, yeah. He says, well, have I got anyone with me? I said, yeah. I've got your grandmother. You always thought that she preferred your brother to you. And he's like, yeah. I said, that was a misconception. She's sorry that you got the misconception, but she very much loves you. You're very sensitive, but you don't realise it. And next minute he's in tears. She said, so she's sending love to you. She's giving you 50p. That way he really broke down while he's behind the till. He's like, she always gave me 50p. So I left his love with him. In that respect, I've got a non-believer totally believing at a young age. So he'll go through the rest of his life now believing and knowing spirit exists. And that's one of the biggest things where I can get great pleasure. So that was probably 30 seconds to a minute conversation with him just changed his life.
Yeah.
Tough belief. And the other thing that you then get is they'll ask what you do. And then they go, oh, right, I can't get away from you quick enough. But when I first developed, that was where I more got it. Had one or two. I can only think of one in actual fact. And it was when I was trying to do my first event in a pub. I was a complete non-believer. So I knew that I'd got his spirits around me, and they were saying, there's no point in you giving a message from us. So spirit themselves taught me a lesson. They said, don't give him a message from us. We'll tell you what you need to know. Go straight to your cards. Use divination. It doesn't matter whether you're getting it from mediumship or not. Use the cards. That'll be enough of a turning point for him. So I used the cards, told him all about his life, what was going on around it now, till his jaw dropped. He couldn't have a word. He was like, thank you very much. That was all he said. And after that, at the very end, he said, so did I have any loved ones around me? I said, I thought you didn't believe. Well, I don't know where you got all that information from. I said, yeah, you did. Passed on a very brief message then from his grandma and grandfather. Someone that was absolute, shouting it out, trying to ridicule, had been turned around. So yeah, that can happen when I meet people, but no, I don't hide it.
Yeah. What did you used to do earlier on to protect yourself then, when you were developing?
The biggest thing when I was developing, I've been developed by spirit rather than through advice from another, so direct from the spirit world. One of the biggest was the turning point where I knew I'd really got the ability. I started seeing them, not everywhere that I walked, but when I saw them, they'd always be in groups. To the point I was taking pictures of them, which was making it worse. It distracted me then when I was trying to drive, so I had to very quickly tell them, don't distract me. Then I realised rules were important. To put rules in place. And I got speaking to another medium. He said, you're going to have to write them down, but don't worry, just fictitiously pretend you've pinned them to your door, you pinned them to your car, and the spirit will listen. So I did that, and it did work. That stopped them bothering me when I didn't want to be bothered. But the biggest one, I guess, was empathy. Walking into a shop, going and sitting down somewhere. And it'd be residual energy rather than spirit. So I can give you an example here. I went to see a friend, and there was a couple of other friends that I've helped develop. They're there. The friend that we went to see wanted to take us for breakfast. It was in an Audi or something like that. And we went into the Audi. Instantly as we were in there, we've ordered the food. As soon as we went towards the sitting area, I felt really uncomfortable. The lady that I've helped develop that was with us, one of my friends, she was out of character in there. Every little bit of noise and everything was really bothering her. I'd already got the perception of fire. I could smell smoke. I could hear an explosion. But then a baby started crying around there as well. So I used Reiki to try and keep the baby quiet. But every little noise was bothering his friend. And afterwards, when I went out of there, I was like, don't want to go back in there. I picked up a fire. It was a big explosion. The lady that we went to see didn't know about this. I said, look, it was underground. There was ammunition here. There was a fire and it exploded. There was death. 2 or 3 people died, definitely here. She was like, no. Anyway, I left it with her. I thought, I know what I've got. I know I'm right. And then as we were driving home and we'd left her, that was a couple of days later, I got a message. Ding, ding. Stopped and looked at it at the service station. She said, you're always bloody right, was the start of the message. And I've looked into it. There used to be there was a factory there as a front in the war. It was an ammunition store, or they made ammunition. And there was a fire and it exploded underground, big hole crater. It killed a few people. I know, it was at the front of it, exactly where we were sat in the cafe. And she's like, yeah, okay, I get that now. But I wasn't the only one to have felt that emotion, but I'd got the story behind it. Whereas those who were just new to developing felt the emotions from it and kind of irritated them. It's knowing when it's your feelings and when it's someone else's is the important part with the development of what you're picking up energy-wise. Know whether it's yours or whether you're picking it up from something. And if it's not yours, why let it bother you? Push it back, it's no concern. It's like reading. I can't keep hold of all of the messages that I give to everyone, and otherwise my mind would be full of everyone else's lives, not my own. So it's switching off my own mind in order to do the readings, and then bring my own mind back when I'm not. So it's like a key turning.
Yeah, I suppose it's having the confidence and the understanding to realise that the things you are feeling are not necessarily your own. That took me quite a long time to realise. The discomfort and the other sensations I was feeling weren't my own.
I can give you an example that we've spoken about, because we've spoken in the past when you've been shopping.
Well, that's one, yeah. That's very true. Gone in the supermarket and there's a particular area in in this particular building. And I used to get extremely hot and uncomfortable, and I just wanted to get away from that area as quickly as possible. And I spoke to Gavin about it, and I says, I'm not really comfortable in this location. I says, I actually detect it. It's got to the point I don't want to go because of this sensation. And he just turned around and says, was there a fire there? And I says, well, I suppose so. That makes a lot of sense. So what I was picking up was, I think somebody must have died in that particular fire.
But they don't need to have died either. It's the residual energy. A fire will leave the trace energy behind it. And a fire is very powerful when it's spread. So the fire itself you can be reading the energy of buildings. That's quite easy to do without realising it. But yes, that will have been the uncomfort part of it, where someone would have been trying to tap you on the shoulder, sort of saying, I'm here.
I mean, one of the first ones I ever got was I went to a castle in Derbyshire, quite an ancient castle. And I was walking down this vaulted, this hall with a vaulted ceiling, elaborate plasterwork, and I touched the walls, and I got transported back in time, where I could see men smoking. It was a smoke-filled room, and they're talking about revolution. The dress looks as if it's 17th century, with the blue. Well, I don't know what they call them. Them billowing shirts and with lace collars and all stuff like that. And I'd probably be in my early 20s, and I thought, what the heck have I just picked up here? Didn't realise anything about it at that particular time. Just thought, wow, right, I'll leave that. And I just left.
We're too inquisitive sometimes. That's one of the big things when you're developing. Too inquisitive.
You can be.
That's one of the big things you have to switch off from as you're more developed. If you don't need that information, why do I need that? So switch off from being inquisitive.
I always remember going to work in York, and I was sat on a bus, and I was opening up, and I was exploring all different things, and I was reading a book about shamanism on the way into work, just as is a bit of light reading for half an hour. And there were two women sat quite close by, and one of them, they both got up, and one of them turned my way, and it's like being poked in the eyes.
Yeah.
And I just, where's that come from? So after that, I always thought, right, I need to put up some protection around me, because I've obviously been too open. Somebody else who's a little more developed has sensed that, probably from a different background. Shamans and Wicca don't necessarily go well together. And it could have been...
There's always an overlap in all subjects, but they don't always have the same beliefs.
No. So it could be somebody from a different belief who's just turned around and gone...
And it gives rise to different questions in your head. Inquisitiveness, especially with shadow work, with shamanism, could pull more of a negative spirit towards you than Wicca, that's going to be more maybe along the lines of nature spirit, and then as a medium, more lines of someone that's passed over.
That's very true. So
very funny you said York. As a child, I baffled my father. Took us there. Never been before in my life. I knew my way around like the back of my hand. Completely knew my way around, back of my hand. People could ask for directions. I knew exactly where it was. It's an old city, and street names haven't really changed. So people would ask for directions, and I'd butt in and tell them where it was. What on earth are you doing? You can't say that. You don't know where anything. I know where everything is. And come true, everything, everywhere we wanted to go, I knew how to get there. Just knew my way around like the back of the hand. Never been there before in my life.
I was consultant engineer working in York, and a lot of the areas I was working on, there were bodies buried within 18-inch or 450 mil at surface. Yeah, working in certain areas where we're starting to do excavation work for whatever reason. Yeah.
Stirs the energy.
Oh, it certainly did. It would certainly get a lot of historical stuff coming through. Because there was one area I was looking at, and I just thought there's a lot of energy here, and it's to do with not a civil war as such, but it's to do with an uprising. The king has sent somebody, the king sent somebody to try and sort it out, and he's come to a demise. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So he was basically lynched by the mob. When I did a little bit more digging and researching, that exactly happened as to where I was stood. The energy is palpable.
See, that's it when you start to develop is understanding the energies. Like, for instance, the protecting myself, again, with regard to empathy, very quickly. I was never a big person into the news. That's one thing I dropped very quickly as I came to work with mediumship, was drop the news entirely. So if there's something big that happens, sometimes if it's someone's died, I might know about it and then I'll check. But when partner, we don't listen to the news. Have nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's fear-mongering, and it puts the fear into you, or you get all the empathic feelings from it. So it's looking after your energy in that way. So
that's
that
exactly
really,
what I do as well. Yeah. That is exactly what I do. I do not watch the news if I can help it. There may be one or two things which I'm there and it's all right, okay, and I try and disconnect from that point.
Especially now with the trance mediumship, because that got me a close connection with my guides. If I watch something like the news, I get them in my ear hole. Go, well, that's not correct. This isn't correct. That's not correct. So it's like most of it, 90% of it isn't correct, is what I pick up. Or there's another side to the story, so I just keep away from it.
Well, it's like when the daily press meetings about coronavirus, when that first started, and the media just having an absolute feeding frenzy, generating fear on that. And I very quickly picked up on that, and I thought, well, I don't subscribe to this. So, yes, I used to keep an eye on it to see what was going off. But no, I didn't subscribe to it. Certainly.
That was one area I had to keep very, 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 very sort of kind of distance myself to. So during that time, people would have readings to do with it. And I couldn't give, in any reading, I couldn't give what I'd been given previously. I'd always have to rely on their loved ones and give the information the way the loved ones wanted it to be given. But I can say not one spirit that's come close to me prescribed to any of that either. But a subject I pretty much try and keep away from. Yeah.
Well, I did it for my own self-preservation, if you can understand that analogy.
Yeah. I knew I was interested from my own perspective, but it wasn't like I could. Basically, if I'd gone out there and started telling everyone what I thought, that would have been preaching. And I've never subscribed to preaching.
Yeah.
So if people want my help, they've got to approach me. I'm not going to go and preach or to them, because that's then trying to push your beliefs or things to someone else. So if they want help, then they're going to come to me, because then they've got to believe something in the first instance. There's no point in me going out there screaming from the treetops, blah 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 blah. I just don't agree with that at all.
I agree. At the end of the day, what you hear really is just somebody's point of view.
Yeah, which again is like the news, and sometimes it's not point of view. It's can be deliberate.
That's very true. So
you will have probably experienced some of this as well, Roger. So one of the other things, sort of living as a medium, would be spirit always coming close to me. So although I walk around and I don't see anything, if I've say hovered somewhere for a period of time, so say I've gone shopping with Marie and the kids, they might be in a shop and I've just hung around outside, because I'm then sort of loitering, so to speak, I might see something out the corner of my eye that I know is a spirit. I might get some communication, because I'm sat there and I've got a quiet mind at that point. It's like waiting for them to come. That's when spirit might approach me. But that's more likely then going to be a spirit that wants to tell their story, not a spirit that wants me to go and talk to door 78. So that happens all of the time to me. So it's when I'm in the quiet mind. and things like that are coincidental. Coincidences are never coincidences, in my opinion. So, for instance, I could be driving. This happens fairly frequently as well. Driving, once I have a stop, I might miss 2 or 3 lay-bys that could have stopped, and I end up stopping in a lay-by. As soon as we pull up and stop, I'm like, oh, I can feel I've got a motorcyclist near me. And Maria will be picking bits up as well. And between us, just like, yeah, he definitely died around here. I need to help him. He's not been to the light. And we get out, and I could have helped him anyway, whether this next bit would have happened or not. Get out, and they're in the lay-by. There's a concrete with a metal plaque on it. Nigel Morris died 1998, age 73, in a motorcycle accident. So therefore, stopping, he'd missed the light. He hadn't realised that he was past to start with, and help him get to the light, help him cross over. Now, that's quite rewarding when that happens. So in that way, spirit in my life sort of all of the time. And they do come close. But people often then ask, well, what's it like at home? At home, it's not necessarily going to be the same as everyone else's homes. For me and Maria having a conversation or chatting with friends, we can get taps all the time, joining in our conversations. Normally that's an agreement. Or I've seen some strange things as well. So like I've sat at home and a key's come up flying out the door, not flying out the door in a straight line and just dropped. It's come out of the door lock. It's gone forward 4 yards or 4 paces, and then it's come to the right and landed 1 foot away from me. So it's moved in total about 9 foot and landed on the floor. So that's spirit just messing around or giving a sign for something. And keys that have been lifted up and then just dropped. So it doesn't happen all of the time, but it can happen. Night time is when I wouldn't say interfere. I don't get anything from any spirits other than loved ones, but they will make themselves known at night time and just sort of put their hand on my shoulder, put a hand on my head, drop things into dreams. But yeah, that and taking family photos. We'll often have, if I was to actually look at every photo we take with family, there will be a spirit in the background of the photo. There will be. Yeah. I wouldn't have said on most photos. I'd go inclined to say all photos, there'd be something on them where there's family involved. It's just not looking for them. So they do make themselves known. Our children, some of them are sensitive and they'll say, oh, Pop's been in my room or something like that. So in that way, that's different. But then we're bringing the kids up that they know what I do and they're open to it. So they're called keeping their own abilities. But the taps and the noises, you have things like that happen. You've been sat there the other week, Roger, didn't you? And you had a crystal that moved.
Yes, that's yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah, I had an ankh. Crystal ankh which moved. I'm still waiting for them to move the one of the skulls. Not too far, but yeah, that's a challenge I've set down to.
They probably won't do that though, because now you've asked them to do that. They never do what you ask them to do. They'll do something different.
Oh no, they're awkward.
You'd be better telling them not to move it, and it's more likely to move.
Yeah, like my dad used to do with me, a bit of reverse psychology. You can't move that. You cannot move that. Yeah, just while you were talking, it just reminded me of one of my earlier experiences. I was working in a very old building in York. I'm sat in one of the upper floors in this building. Which probably would have been servants' quarters at that time, and I'm sat closest to the door, and from the door there's a few steps up, and you can see a corridor.
Yeah.
And I'm sat in this meeting, and I keep getting my shirt tugged. What I could see, it was a little girl wanting to play, which were absolutely fantastic. So I'm in this meeting. There's other senior members of staff, and they keep seeing me just glancing to my left. Yeah, and that was such a beautiful experience there. Just wanted to share that one. That were all.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. But yeah, no, it does happen. So I guess wherever I go, if I sit still, spirit or the energies around will come close. So like, I'll just know, for instance, sitting outside of a pub where we've been to the beach where this has happened. I look up, so I know there's a spirit looking out the window at me. So spirit, you see, when you start to develop, if you imagine a lighthouse for the ships, okay, they know ships don't come heading for the lighthouse. Okay, with the purpose of a lighthouse, they avoid the lighthouse. But with spirit, the more you develop, the brighter you become. And spirit are inquisitive. So they see this light around and they'll come close to me. Especially not really the negative ones. I know I do help people with negative. When I first started helping people with negatives would come close, but I don't get that. Don't get that now. I'd have to go more looking for them. But because you get bright like a lighthouse, they will see me. So like I said, sitting outside of a pub, I know that I'm being looked at. You know, you get that feeling sometimes that there's eyes in the back of your back, like someone's staring at you. It's like, I know it's not a person. It's like, look up. I can then sort of see them. I just know that their energy and I can see them there. That will happen pretty much wherever I go. If I go around to someone's house, especially if it's an older building, if it's an older building, then I'll pick up what the house has been used for previously. But if I was to come around to yours, Roger, I'll be sat there and I could guarantee that I would end up with some of your loved ones coming close to me. They might not completely talk, but I know that they're there. So I'd say, if you were to turn around and ask me, I wouldn't say anything unless you asked me. Then I'd say, yeah, I could pick up 2 grandparents, that's the grandparents, your mother, your father. I've got Aunt Betty, Uncle John, and whatever are around. But unless I'm asked that question, then I won't kind of share that. Because the moment I start sharing it, that's when all the information will come flooding in from them. They'll start talking completely. So I guess knowing that I'm a medium, that's why I don't say, you can't really go to someone and say, oh, Aunt Bessie's here. Because the moment you do that, that's open the doors for spirit to start giving you the rest of the information. They will give you the rest of the information.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, there's been 1 or 2 occasions when I've been talking to people and they've started talking about something or a famous person, and then all of a sudden I'd just get some information and I would say something and it was just like they just look around at you incredulously as if to say, well, where's that one come from?
That happens very often.
So yes, for me, if that does happen, I will then make quite a hasty retreat from that and just smile and walk away and just leave it with them.
Oh, I know that, Roger, because you can be thinking of something in the daytime that I'm unaware of, and I then start chatting to you, and I'm like, have you been thinking of this today? Because I've got blah, blah, blah by the side of me.
Yeah, well, I aim to misbehave.
I guess one of the biggest misconceptions, a lot of people think, because of what I do, that I'm automatically reading them. I don't come around reading everyone. It'd tire me out. They automatically think that everywhere you go, you're in reading mode. And that's why some of them can disappear very quickly from around. They don't want to come close. Working in the paranormal, now that's slightly different. So people that don't believe when you're working in the paranormal generally won't put themselves in a position to even experience anything. They don't want to try it. Most of them will just disappear. So I know a couple of places we've been when I've been working in the paranormal, because there's lights on at night time and things like that. They can arrive, the police have arrived just to check there's no trouble and no one's been broken into, for instance. They ask what you're up to, and so the first thing you say is it's a paranormal event. And with the paranormal event, they often want to check then, like you really aren't just thieves that broken in. Because you've said it's a paranormal event, the police, they've been terrified. Absolutely terrified. So we've had them where they can't make their minds up which ones are coming in when they've turned up in a riot van. Never asked, and some of them go, oh, I don't believe. And I've snapped it, said, can I take your photo? I'll show you. There's one stood by the side, and then I've shown them the picture. And they're like, right, boom, back in the van. Or they've come in to check the building. Well, they're in and out in 30 seconds. So it can be quite humorous to want to do as well. There's some of the pleasurable moments of people being, guess, silly.
I found it quite interesting with family.
Yeah.
With parents, really, because I had one who was, and was really open-minded to it, and the other one would say, stop bloody talking rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting that since they both passed the spirit, there's been a bit of a role reversal.
Often the way. But yeah, no, you will find as you start to develop, yes, family, I can totally appreciate that one, with different beliefs. But even friends, you will find as you start to develop, people leave your life. But always others will come into your life that are of similar belief. They will just find you. So I haven't known Roger, we haven't known each other that long, but got on very well since we have met and paths have crossed. So with every person that leaves your life, there will be someone that comes into your life. But every bit of your journey anyway, it will happen through your life whether you were believed or not. You only share part of your journey with certain people. It's like going on the motorway. The M1's very, very long if you're in the UK, but you might only share a journey if that's your life. You might share part of that journey up till, say, junction 15 with someone, and they'll drift off then there. You drive for a couple of junctions sort of on your own, and then someone else joins your path. So it's a bit like that in life anyway, but it's far more when you start to develop. It's like 15 people might leave your life in one go. And you're like, why has everyone abandoned me? But you'll get very quickly a few others coming into your life that will build up that are meaningful. So that very much you have to be aware of that as you're developing.
Yes, I've gone through something similar to that with one of the groups who I used to attend, doing shaman meditations and development, and yeah, that just disbanded and everybody went their own ways. So some others I did keep in contact for a while, and there's still one or two who I periodically say hello to. And
one that you're still very close to as well, isn't there?
Well, I suppose there is, yes.
There's one definitely that I know of that's come your way from the meditation groups.
So yeah, that totally resonates. My last mentor left, just up and left and went to Croatia, and she's been out there for at least 10, 12 years now. So no, I still like to see what she's doing. But
everything for a reason, I always say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I often get asked, so what's some of the funniest or weirdest things that can happen? I know some of the funniest. There's a lot of people that are sensitive, and they won't necessarily know it until they're around someone else that's sensitive. So I can have it where sensitives, especially if I'm with other people that are sensitive themselves or are mediums. So for instance, my birthday, there was a lot of sensitive people around, and the pub that we went to, there were others that were sensitive in that pub, and they could see spirit around me. There were some that actually were concerned for me there, and there were some disabled children, and it was brilliant to see. The mother of one of the disabled children asked me to come up and talk to her son. She said he's a little concerned. He's worried that the people around you are going to hurt you. I knew straight away he wasn't talking about my friends. He was talking about spirit. So I said, that's absolutely no problem. Come and wished him a happy birthday. Sat by his side for a moment. I said, but you can see, I know you can see what's with me, can't you? He says, yeah, they're following you everywhere. He couldn't speak very, very well, but he spoke clearly enough. I said, you don't need to worry at all. I'm safe. I know that they're there. And went right over the mother's head. And the others that were there, that were his friends, the disabled, they could see as well. So it was lovely to have that conversation with them, to put their minds at rest, but they went straight over the parents' heads of what they could see. They thought they were talking about the physical people there, not the spirit people. And lovely to be able to have that conversation and put them at peace. But it's actually funny I'm mentioning that, because a lot of them are sensitive to spirit. A lot of disabled children or disabled people in general are sensitive to spirit, can see and sense them, which you're likely to start spotting yourself as well, Roger. And again, like another one that I would tell you about, the second one that could spring to mind is, I remember the first time this happened. I'm obviously a trance medium, but I dropped into trance in my sleep. So when I come to, I was aware I wasn't asleep. I'd come back kind of normally to myself. I was like, what's gone on here? So I dropped into trance in my sleep, and my guide's talking to Marie. I was like, they've done what? So yeah, you've been speaking for half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. They don't do it that often, but they do that. I could be asleep and they'll step forward and start talking through me while I still thought I was asleep. That one still makes me smile even to this moment. But basically, I'd summarise, Roger, that the mediumship is worth developing. You don't read everyone when you're walking around and out and about. You don't see dead people walking around all the time when you're out and about. Yeah, you can if I decide to tune in, but don't tune in. You couldn't possibly do that all of the time. That's probably one of the biggest things when you're developing, is knowing when to tune in and when not to, because of course you get excited. Oh, I can do this. So you kind of try and speak spirit all day. Well, if you try and do that, spirit will be around all day. So just don't communicate to them the point you don't want to communicate with them. So that's where the rules come in place. So yeah, I know what I'll do. I'll ask, as we're coming towards the end, whether there's anything Roger wanted to ask about living as a medium. So is there any questions you wanted to ask, Roger?
Do you think you'd ever give it up?
No.
Excellent.
Can't say that I'd want to. I've always liked helping people. Obviously didn't start down this path, but I've always wanted to help people. Always liked helping people. But they help so much. It's a lifestyle. It's not a job. It's a lifestyle. Yes, I do it full time. There's got to be an exchange of energies. It's a lifestyle. I'm happiest I've ever been. I couldn't imagine spirit not being around me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to imagine spirit not being around me. Yeah, I can be awkward sometimes. There are some elements that I'd change if I could. Like I can have a conversation as clear as anything with any of your loved ones. But as soon as it's my own loved ones, I know they're there. And I'd have to go to other means to be able to get communication, and then it's not as clear. And if I ask a question, I don't often get the answers. Someone else asks the question, I can get the answers. It's weird, but it's knowing all of the little bits themselves, and some things they can't answer straight away. But no, would I change it? Not on your Nelly. It's all TikTok and tickety boo.
I've found it quite interesting, just looking back on my career and how I've actually hidden this ability and whatnot from others, and I'm getting quite comfortable now with that, and I just think it's a wonderful thing to develop.
There's the more people that do, the better the world will be, on my belief.
Definitely, most definitely. I've watched you, Gavin, do channeling and trance work. How do you feel about trance channeling?
Well, the channeling itself, ever since I pretty much started, I know it wasn't immediately when I started, but very shortly after I started as a medium, working as a medium, I find in readings my voice had got a bit high pitched, and at that I didn't always remember what I'd said. So I worked out very quickly that was called channeling. I didn't know what it was, but I allowed it to happen. And that was when people's loved ones come very, very close, and it was just like a message had come out in a higher pitched voice. But it did lead, when I was going down the physical mediumship path, towards trance. Now, trance, there's an area of mediumship that's kept very secretive. You can't get much input.
Why is that, do you reckon?
Hopefully, I can only give my personal view here. So, I did join a couple of groups on Facebook because I was developing the trance. And like everything else with the mediumship, I started developing it very quickly. And I posted something up, and I knew it was probably going to give a bit of a stir. It got questioned whether it was or it wasn't, and it wasn't very clear. But I said, look, to those of you that are learning, this is after 4 weeks of developing trance. 4 weeks. It's not like 4 weeks since I first spoke, 4 weeks from developing it, where spirit came and spoke. Yes, it might not be that clear and it needs a bit of subtitles, but I'm over the moon with that in 4 weeks. Well, the ones that were developing, I'm sure I gave them a boost and an uplift, that things were possible, because they were on the view, most of them, that it could take 2, 3, maybe up to 5 years to become a trance medium. They all stick together. They try to keep the step beliefs. They keep it behind closed doors. One, I suppose, it's to do with ridicule.
I was going to ask you about people's reactions to it as well.
But all I've seen really is a good reaction from it on the whole. The only place that I've had a bad reaction from it is where there's people that perceive they could do it, but you never hear them. And I can only think of one particular lady after I'd done it, when I brought them through on A Live, that sent a message that was a bit horrible, but I've got tough skin anyway. I think I had trouble not replying. In actual fact, I think I did give a reply, but it was of a positive nature, thanking her for her feedback. But now with it, people's reactions have been very, very good. Lots of people have never seen it, don't even know what it is, and they've heard it on the lives, and I get tremendous feedback from that, where it's really helped them. So, especially with people being able to ask the spirit world questions they want to ask, it's been phenomenal. But I'm not a typical trance medium, or my guides aren't typical guides, really. So my guides, like I said at the very start, even with the normal mediumship, the mental mediumship, spirit developed me. Spirit have also developed me on the trance. So I will help people. That's one of my next things on the list, is to help people with trance mediumship. The main feedback is very, very good from it, and it can be eye-opening. It's like it's getting to the point now that they're working towards helping me develop so that loved ones can speak in their own voices.
Yeah.
And that is phenomenal for those loved ones that can do it in the spirit world, for those loved ones, the sitters, to hear. There's nothing better than that, because that's what some of them want to hear. There was a lady recently that was on an event, and at the very end, I wasn't expecting it, but I always allow spirit to do what they want. My guide come close. The next minute, her mother was talking in her own voice. And that's, well, come and tell me that's not trance. When someone says that's my mother's voice. So whether it's my guides talking or a loved one talking, that can be amazing. So the tears, and it's the tears of happiness to see on someone's face. It can have me in tears. And channeling, some of the channeling when I listen to that back, because I don't know what's been said, it can be very, very emotional. It's wonderful, especially the angels that we had recently, which I know I did last week. Leave that instead of the trance session. So I hope that those that have listened to that have enjoyed that.
Did you find that? Go on, sorry.
No, go on, ask.
I was going to say, did you find that it was a natural progression from trance channeling to then go into light language?
But it wasn't expected when I started doing the trance. Now the light language, whoa. Now that was probably the most uncomfortable feeling for me to let come than anything else. It's not provable. It's, other than sensitive people's emotions from listening to it, that's probably not behind as many closed doors as trance mediumship. But I've never ever wanted to keep trance mediumship behind closed doors. But no, that felt very, very awkward, the light language. It came, first of all, when I was trying to do some healing. And for anyone that's doesn't know what light language is, give me one moment, because they wanted me to give an example of it now for you. So they will give it so that there's a positive message for all. Basically, with light language, it drops into your subconscious when you're listening to it. You won't understand what's been said, but your subconscious does, and it will be meaningful for a later date or another time or for you now. But it drops into your subconscious, a bit like when you get high-pitched noises in your ears. Give me one moment. Hengo patiati anzo gago. Hengalaji anzo akanta kaziakatu. Helangi azwianga akja. Helen Zuga Bazika Amdia Kazwakatiakatu Amtica. And got to come to Katam to Katanga to Katiaka to Jactica. And got Chambatia come to Putican to Putiaka. And got Zambadia Yoziego. There's a brief example of light language.
Thank you, Gavin.
Don't thank me, spirit on the guides that bring that through. But no, that was the most uncomfortable thing that I've ever done in progression for spirituality. Other than maybe angels. I don't know how they get some of the tones out when the angels come through me. Which again, I know You're probably thinking, can I have an example, which I've been given that they will come and do. But it will be brief.
Yeah, it's interesting that initial reaction when you go into that, you can feel daft.
And I very much, you've started with a bit of the light language now, and it does. It's a strange feeling.
For me, it's just another level of trusting what comes through. Excellent. Thank you very much for that transmission.
And that makes me very, 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 very hot. Their energies are a lot stronger. Good evening, everyone. It is John. Hello, Roger.
Good evening, John.
So I decided it was time to come through in trance. It is my turn. I wanted to explain my perspective of being a guide coming through in trance for the medium. So even I have had to develop more. It was given to me, to other guides. They wanted to bring it up to date, not to be old-fashioned. It has been behind closed doors, so to speak, as you say, on Earth for many years. It is something that was very common in the past, going all the way back to Greece, to Egypt, very common. But now it is not so common. You see, often people would go to the Delphi, the Oracle of the Delphi. Yes?
Yes, the Oracle, yes.
Yes, they would drop into trance. And the shamanism, they would often drop into trance too. But very much recently, it is out of date. The guides come through, they have forgotten how times have changed, speaking of words that are not understandable by many. And it is something I did initially. So I have had to be brought up to date because I have not lived for a long time. So doing that, it is only with guide that text does help, even if he can be a little bit too modern, should we say. So it is a privilege on my behalf, being in the spirit world, for me to ascend further by taking this on board. And I would say it is a good thing. So the feedback the medium has had has been very, very good. I came to quite quickly after he started to develop, doing it in public, but not all of the time, only in snippets. So being in the spirit world and being a guide, where the spirit, like the mediums, has developed, I had to wait quite a long time for it to happen. But I'm so glad that I waited. I wasn't going to go anywhere anyway. So it is a privilege on spirit's behalf. Also, whether it is mental mediumship or trance mediumship, it is someone working very close as a middleman or middlewoman between
the different vibrations. And it is a pleasure to stand back and let the loved ones of the sitters come very close to the medium. I don't have to get involved as the guide. I just keep him safe. I can get involved if need be. If they're on a development path, I will often talk instead of the medium. Or if it is a subject that is a bit delicate, then I can step forward if he asks me to. And this happens quite often. So often I will perform in trance readings, or even normal readings where they're not expecting it. But it is like another avenue of ability to prove the spirit world and to bring vast knowledge down. But I do have, I keep doing it each week, a little joke for you, Roger.
Go on then, John. Yes, I'm looking forward to this.
I want to go with what is done bad for your teeth this week.
Okay.
There's a man, he owned a cheese factory.
Okay.
He was painting at home, but his wife wouldn't get out of the way. In the end, he double-glassed her.
Yeah, spot on.
I like that one. When he had a baby, he called the baby Belle. Hee hee.
Bow, 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 baby, no.
But that is the view of spirit anyway. With regard to the trance mediumship, is there anything you wanted to ask about spirit's perspective with regard to mediumship, please, Roger?
Oh, what is your
I put him on the
perspective?
spot now.
Yes, you certainly have. So I would say right back at yourself, John. What is Spirit's perspective on trance channeling and mediumship?
It is good. It is not for everyone. The physical mediumship can be very draining. I don't know where the medium gets all his energy from. I know all of you keep referring to Joy Cell Bunny. I don't know quite what that is, but I imagine with the amount of times I have heard it, it would make sense to a lot of listeners. But it is more, I don't need a perspective. It is a great honor to be able to speak. I understand how rare it is, but we want to make it less rare. So what has been learned and what has been passed on, not just from me to Marie, but many other avenues she has learned, the knowledge behind it all and what the spirit themselves can give will be a great benefit to others in the trance environment. And it will always be put forward to try not to be behind closed doors. Like it is not known of, I don't think there is anyone else that is doing this on podcasts. But I am John, and I'm a guide.
You're a higher guide. Higher vibration.
I'll go into that not today,
Okay.
because I already know I'm a higher vibration than you, Roger.
Okay. I'm tapping my nose now. Yeah.
He made me say it, Marie. So I'll bring the medium back now. What I will do, I want to send love to each and every one of you listeners and your families, from the spirit world and from your loved ones. I say good night to you, Roger, and send love to you and your family.
Good night, John.
And I bless each and every one of you all. Good night, everyone. Have a fantastic week. This is John. Goodbye.
Excellent. Like the cheese. I like the cheese about the joke. Yes. Like the joke about the cheese. Yeah. Double glossed it.
Oh, he told you that one. Oh no, I know what path he's going to go down now then. He's going to go down the cheese joke from. But I do hope everyone's enjoyed listening to what it's like living as a medium. Roger's still got quite a bit on the list to still happen to him. But I know that it's going to be very, very quickly that it's going to be happening to you, Roger. So it'll all be tick-tock, ticky-boom. I'm nicking his phrase. So thank you for tuning in to Thunder and Lightning Weekly Podcast. Remember, awaken with Thunder and Lightning.
Reignite the light.
In your soul. Talking all things
Mediumship
paranormal.
and spirit.
Have a great week, everyone. This is Gavin. Bye-bye.
And it's a goodbye from me. Bye.
Lots of love, everyone.